Joining me again on the show is lawyer Lesia Vasylenko, who's now a politician in the Ukrainian parliament. Lesia Vasylenko, thank you so much indeed for your time. This war is coming up to a year now, which is just incredible, but with no sign of peace. So it's going to go on for a long time yet, I think. How important is the help of countries like ours, and what is it that you now need?
Well, it's absolutely crucial, this help you're talking about. And Ukraine is always grateful to Australia, who never stalls in providing our military needs with equipment, with proper training that our soldiers and volunteers, like the ones you've heard about, very much need. This war will go on until Russia loses. And this war will go on until the integrity of an independent country, Ukraine, is restored. We are fighting for our borders to come back to 1991 internationally recognized limits, which is including Crimea and Donetsk and Luhansk regions, which have been under occupation for almost 10 years now, because it's important to emphasize that Russia's war against Ukraine didn't start a year ago on the 24th of February, but it started on the 20th February 2014 with the annexation of Crimea. So this is how things stand today, but as you see from the footage you're being shown, every day is a tragedy for Ukrainians. There's missile hits, there's artillery fire, there's civilian casualties, innocent men, women, children who are dying every day.
Look, are you worried, though, that the countries that's sending help to Ukraine, and you need it because you're suffering terrible casualties, you're also losing a lot of equipment. The West has been replacing that, giving you extra equipment, Patriot missile system. I think Holland's sending you now Patriots. Are you worried that they're now going to get bored or exhausted? Like in the US, we've seen now some of the Republicans there saying, look, we want an inquiry into all these billions that we're sending to Ukraine. Does that concern you at all?
Well, inquiries and reports are a normal thing when you're getting any kinds of loans or aid, and we don't mind providing the reports of how we spend the international military aid, the international humanitarian aid. That all of that is on record, all of that is open, and I think that our allies and our friends, supporters, will be very satisfied with how that aid has been spent. Because Ukraine is essentially fighting an existential war between good and evil, all the while trying to exist and stay alive and stay an independent country in this process. But I think that being tired or exhausted for fighting for the right things, for fighting for good, that's not something that is going to happen, but at least not something that should happen in the world. Because we all want to live in a civilized world full of comforts, where people enjoy human rights, where people enjoy the benefits that democracy brings. But all that will be gone if Ukraine stops, if Ukraine is allowed to lose and Russia is allowed to win. All that will actually set off a domino effect of other authoritarian leaders, China, for example, getting inspired, getting emboldened and empowered to wage more wars and create more tragedies all across the world. And I think this knowing this and looking into the future and looking into these dreary prospects should be the thing that will be driving leaders worldwide to support Ukraine, and that should also be driving people worldwide, nations, to push their leaders, to push their governments to do more for Ukraine.
Look, I totally agree with you. I said from the start of this war that this is the first battle of World War III. And if Ukraine loses, Russia, like you just said, its allies, China and Iran, they're going to feel they can outlast the West. We have to win. But it's frustrated me that the West has been very slow in getting you some of the weapons you need. But how do you think this war is going to end? I heard you say, well, until we go back to the 1991 borders, giving up Crimea and all that. You're talking about a very, very long slog. And I worry that there are a number of politicians in the West who think that's too much for us. We just want this to end. We want it to go away. We're paying too much. Look at the prices for fuel, for instance, and they're going to bail.
Well, honestly, I don't think that it will be a very long log. It should be a quick fight. And the more weapons we get, the faster we get the ammunition in to go with these weapons. The air defense that we are asking for, if it's on the ground, the tanks we're asking for, if they are on the ground, then there's a good chance that Ukraine will be ending this with victory for Ukraine, possibly by mid-2023, maybe even by some ambitious forecast by end of spring 2023. But of course, there's a condition to that, and the condition is that there's these weapon deliveries which are quick, which are in full capacity of everything that Ukraine is asking, and maybe even more. But there's countries like Germany who are still stalling, who are still afraid to provoke Russia. But how more can you provoke Russia? Every day, every bit of Ukraine becomes or can become a war zone. Hits are happening in towns far away from the front line. Innocent people are dying. Russia has already well, it's not even provoke. Provoke is the wrong word. Russia is on a strategy mission to destroy Ukraine and to reestablish the Russian Empire. And that's all there is to it. There's nothing the West can or cannot do, and there's nothing Ukraine can and cannot do. The problem is that Ukraine exists as an independent country, and Russia is on a mission to solve this problem as they see it by destroying Ukraine. All we need is the means to defend ourselves, and all we need is the means to stop a power-crazed authoritarian dictator that Vladimir Putin is.
Well, that's an optimistic timeline, and I fear that the only way that that can be really achieved is probably by someone in Russia putting a bullet in Vladimir Putin's head. And who knows, good things can come out of the blue. That could yet happen. Thank you so much for your time, Lesia Vasylenko. Really appreciate it, and all the best to you.